Hey guys, welcome to the studio, and of course, come on in, make yourself comfortable. And coincidentally, that's what I would like to talk about in this video, and that's about a studio. Do you really need a commercial studio or a home studio that might mimic a commercial studio to make great recordings? And my short answer would be no, and then also my short answer would be yes. So let me try to cover a couple of instances where I think that you might need to be set up like a regular studio to make things work for you, and some situations to where it really doesn't matter. Now, first of all, let me just review what I'm talking about in a commercial studio. Typically, you would have a control room that would have all your equipment like your mixer or whatever you might have, your tape machines, or nowadays your computer. And then you would have other rooms associated and connected through windows, but acoustically isolated, typically called your tracking rooms. And that would be where your musicians would play, and then you would set up your drums, say, in the tracking rooms, or have your guitar amplifiers in the tracking rooms. And in some special situations, you might even have separate vocal booths that are totally isolated from the tracking rooms. So you can have a variety of different types of tracking rooms. And the whole idea, basically, in the short explanation of this, is with a tracking room and a control room set up like that, you can hear what's coming over the speakers, as that will actually more closely emulate your final sound. In other words, if you're standing next to the drum set out in the tracking room, you really don't have any idea whether your drum mics are balanced, whether they're positioned correctly. It may sound great standing next to the drum set, but when you come in and listen to things over the speakers, you can really hear, boy, that really sounds good, but I'm getting maybe a little squeak in the foot pedal, or the hi-hats aren't sounding very good, or I need to reposition my mics. And that goes with a lot of things. Say your guitar amplifiers, the mic, you may just instinctively just put the mic in a favorite location, but sometimes you just need to hear it over the speakers and understand whether that's a good location for the mic, whether you're comfortable with that. And so that will speed up the process, and that allows the engineer to actually hear the musicians or the talent and get a better grasp of how things are going to sound in the end result, and whether the basic raw tracks that they're laying down are going to be usable during mixdown. Now, in a home situation, generally the studio isn't set up like that. As you can see, I've just basically got a control room here, and that's where I do 95% of my work, and I don't have a control room window looking out into the tracking room for the musicians, primarily because this is in my home and I don't physically have the space to do that. Some home studios might do that in their basement, or in or upper floor, or in the attic, to where they can divide up areas like that and then acoustically treat it. But in my situation, I don't particularly need to do that, because a lot of my instruments I'm recording direct. I'm recording my drums. In fact, I'm using a drum program. I use TuneTrack drums. I'll record my bass guitar direct. A lot of my guitars are direct through processors. My keyboards are direct. So I'm able to hear the final results coming over my speakers, of course, before my mix down, what things are really sounding like. If I need to balance things out, I can easily do that. I'm not recording through microphones and recording somebody else. Now, obviously, if I were recording live drums, I could have my drums right here in the control room, and then I would have to play them, stop, and then hear playback, and decide, if I'm doing this all by myself, if I'm happy with the way the mics are positioned, if I'm getting a good balance, etc., etc. If I'm recording somebody else, I would, for ease of and just to make things faster, I would go ahead and put the drums in another room in my house, and I just run a bunch of mic cables or a snake and run that to where I could isolate the drums, and I could hear the sound of the drums coming over my speakers, that they would be louder than what I'm hearing the drums just roaring through my house. So in situations like that, sometimes it is advantageous to have a separate control room and a tracking room, and sometimes it really doesn't matter. Most home studios, like I say, like this, you're just recording everything out of the control room. In fact, when I have singers, we just put on the headphones, and I know I'm getting basically a decent sound because I've been doing this for a while, and the singer will just stand right behind me, and it's real easy to communicate. But then I've also had singers that really don't like being right in front of other people, and I'll go ahead and I'll put them in a separate room in the house. We're all wearing headphones, or the singers are wearing headphones, and so I can use a mic to talk back to them into the other room, and so things can really be presented in a lot of different ways, and really what works for you works best. There's also just a very simplistic studio that may just be a laptop, and you can just go ahead with a portable interface, and you might just take your laptop out to the park or your favorite place and record some basic tracks if you've got an acoustic guitar or whatever you're doing, a little keyboard, or maybe just doing some mixing with some headphones, getting some rough ideas. So there's a lot of scenarios, and so to say, do you really need to build a studio like a commercial studio? Hopefully by watching this video will get you to think, what are my needs first, and then what do I really need to do? Do I need to go ahead and set up like that? Am I going to bring a lot of musicians over to my studio and record them? And if so, then maybe in that case you might want to think about dedicating a good amount of space to where you could go ahead and set up the musicians in one room and have a separate control room. However, there are a lot of successful studios that just have one huge control room, so it really there's no rules. If you're just recording by yourself, which I do a lot myself, where you're laying down one track at a time and a lot of tracks are just direct, then maybe you might want to just have a nice control room and then have some space in it, so if you have people that come in it, they can go ahead and stand in the back of your control room and observe what's going on, or if they're singing they can do that, or lay down musical instrument tracks for you, whatever works. But like I say, what's the answer? It's either yes or it's either no, but hopefully by watching this video, and I may cover some more topics along this line in future videos, maybe not, who knows, but hopefully it will get you thinking, do I really need to be set up like this? But I think, in all honesty, make some decisions yourself. What do you guys need? What do you need to lay down tracks, and then decide, then build your studio around that. That may just be a laptop, or it may be your full-blown studio in another building completely separated from your house. Who knows? Well, thanks for watching the video, guys. I know I'm just kind of rambling on about this, but we'll catch you in the next video, huh? That's right. Later.